to another episode of the Raw Gypsy Not Quite Hippie podcast. My name is Trey Byerjon, and today I'll be interviewing the one and only... There you go. Look at you representing, man. Got the Saints hat on.
Oh, yeah.
Damn. I got to tell you, though, I know I'm from Louisiana, too. I'm actually from Northwest Louisiana. So, Shreveport-Bossier. And it's funny.
It's barely Louisiana.
Come on. Damn, I've had to fight the damn Dallas Cowboy fans my whole life, being so close to the border.
It's a good fight, bro. Fight the good fight.
It is a good fight. I still fight with it. I got this dude on. I'm not even going to call him a name, but I got this guy on Facebook that I've been friends with since high school, actually since middle school, and he's a huge Cowboys fan. And no matter what I post or share about Drew Brees being, all of his records and whatnot, he has some smart-ass remark that he's not even top 10. Dak Prescott's better than him.
Oh, my God. It's good that he says stuff like that because you don't even need to rebut that kind of stupidity.
No.
Just let him put it in the ether, and it's like, look at what he said.
And it's every single year. He pokes his little head up he shuts up.
Yeah.
Cowboys always go down.
And Troy Aikman's only got rings because of Emmitt Smith.
Oh, dude.
And that defense.
And that O-line. The O-line was pretty
special. Come on. Troy Aikman's running the mill.
But, I got to give it to them. They did a thing. And I was always growing up as a Steelers fan when I was young. See, I'm distant relation to Terry Bradshaw.
Gotcha. He's a Shreveport fella.
He's a Shreveport boy. Woodlawn Knights, Louisiana Tech. And
La Tech, baby, the Bulldogs.
That's right. So, growing up, my allegiance was to the Steelers when I was young. My flag football team.
Word. That's where I always put a lot of Shreveport people. I figure more Shreveport probably harbors more Steelers fans and Cowboys fans than Saints fans, if I would imagine. And
I was about, 10 years old maybe. And my dad, he came to me. The first Super Bowl I ever watched was the Steelers versus the Rams. And so I was about 10. My dad came to me and says, "Come on, boy, we got to go." I said, "Where are we going?" He said, "We got to go home, man. Football's on." I said, "Oh, hell yeah." And I said, good. He says, "Yeah, we got to go watch the Steelers." And I said, "Oh, yeah." And he said, "But we can't root for them." I said, "What? What do you mean we can't root for them?" He said, "Well, because they're playing the Saints." I said,
"Come on, man.
Who the hell are the Saints?" I didn't know who the Saints were when I was 8, 9 years old, 10 years old. And he said, "No, that's our team." I said, "We have a team?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Damn, I didn't know we had a team." So
we just don't feel it because we're way up here on the top of the boot, man.
I know. But damn, and plus, every year after that, we were begging for something better than 8-8,
Tell me about it. Yeah, I was begging for 8-8 for the longest time in my life.
And we finally you remember when we got Bum Phillips?
Yeah.
I thought we was going to do it. I said,
I thought we was going to do it. And same thing, I said the same thing when we got Mike Ditka. I was like, prayers answered. Here we go, baby.
Oh, Lord. And then the wedding dress.
Wah, wah.
Then the wedding dress photo.
No, the worst one for me was the last game of that season that I think it was the first season he was here when the Browns came to town and they hadn't won a game all season and they come to the Dome and beat us with a Hail Mary pass at the end of it. I was like, oh, my God.
My grandpa was a big Saints fan, and he lived in Rayville, Louisiana. My dad's from Rayville. My mom is from West Monroe. And so my grandpa had never been to a Saints game. And my dad and them, they always tell the story every time. Every time we go over to the house and we're watching the Saints, my grandpa would tell me the story of when they ran the opening kickoff back at Tulane Stadium. My grandpa jumped up and said, "We're going to the Super Bowl, son. We're going to the Super Bowl." Of course, that was, 1967 or whatever year that was. They didn't win a game.
What a crazy first play of a franchise, And then that winds up sucking for so long. Like, what a disappointment, man.
All we had to hang our hat on was Dempsey kicking that field goal with half a foot.
That was it. Dempsey for the longest time until the Dome Patrol came around. God,
I know, right? Yeah,
that's a big gap.
That's really Ricky Jackson. Oh my God, dude.
That's a big gap. I tell you, you're talking all this North Louisiana stuff that's kind of making me think of a dynamic that might contribute to why I'm such a diehard Saints fan is because, nobody really knows this. I've never really talked about it publicly, but my old man, my dad, He's from here, obviously. He's from Thibodaux. He's from Thibodaux.
Yeah.
But when he was a little kid, his mama couldn't afford him, and all kinds of, just things happened. Single mom and the projects and all. And his mom dropped him off with his brothers and all up in North Louisiana at Monroe, at the Baptist Children's Home in Monroe, Louisiana.
Damn, bro.
And so as you talking about all of this, what's making me think is like, I grew up and fell in love with the Saints because my dad was so passionate about it on Sundays. Like it was bad. It was almost dysfunction.
Yeah, it is. It
is.
You're weak. Yeah, you're weak. Yeah. The following week is
everything.
Precedent
the whole family's like, whether we're going to have a good Sunday evening together or not.
Or a whole week.
Depends on what happened at lunch during the Saints game, son.
That's right.
In the whole week. The whippings are going to be worse. You're going to have a worse mood. You might have the same leftovers. Nobody gives a shit. It's like, and the reason I think it was is because I think, my dad being stuck up there in North Louisiana.
Yeah. But
at 8 years old, he was 8. He still had time. He had memories and stuff of being down here.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if maybe the Saints wasn't the only, his way to think about back home, because it is a lot closer back home. Whatever the case, my dad infected me and my brother. Oh, my God. Did he infect us?
It's a good infection.
It's a good infection.
My dad was on TV one time. He was out taking the trash out to the side of the road, and the news people came by, and they were talking about the trash pickups or something. And he was repping his Saints shirt. His Saints.
Oh, yeah, man.
But it's and we got to take my grandpa to
work. My claim to fame. So when Drew Brees broke the record last season on that Monday night game, right?
Yeah.
I go and run by Drew's house all the time just because I hope to see him one day, right?
Yeah.
And so I run and I make a big loop, and lo and behold, he's standing at his fucking driveway.
What? No way.
Standing in his driveway on the phone, right? So I loop back. I'm like, that's fucking Drew Brees. That's Drew Brees. So I get out Instagram, and I start a story. I start an Instagram story, and I run back by his driveway and give him a who dat real loud, And then I keep my run going, and I recorded it on my Instagram story, shared it on my Instagram story.
Yeah.
Right? And so I keep running. I'm like, I'm all jacked. I saw Drew, man. And then I finish with my run. And then after everything's over, someone hits me on Facebook and says, because they saw my Instagram story, he says, I was listening to Dan Patrick this morning, and Drew Brees was being interviewed, and some crazy person came run by his house and hollered, who dat? He said, I immediately thought it must have been you. And I was like, it totally was. It was totally me.
So he was being interviewed.
Like,
he was being interviewed?
Dan Patrick was interviewing him on the phone. He was in his driveway because his wife and kids were all still sleeping. And so he comes by trying to have an interview with the Dan Patrick show in his driveway. I come by, and he's like, Dan Patrick's like, do people just come by your house and holler, who dat? And he's like, pretty much.
No, just Josh. Just Josh.
So, I mean, that's what I love about our team. We are a very small market.
That's right.
And the team is mixed right into the community. Like, you might see Drew at Whole Foods or something. You never know. Like, you see players all over town, at the bars, at the restaurants, at the different festivals. It's pretty dope.
That's what I love about him. He could have done anything. He could have went to course Miami after his injury in San Diego, but man, he come in, he just fell in love with the city and just wrapped himself around it. And that story of coach taking him and his wife around town and getting lost and seeing the destruction. It's just a great story. And you can't help but fall in love with that cat, man. If he ran fucking mayor,
you talk about it epitomizes rebirth, right? It epitomizes, rebound, recovery. It epitomizes growth and consistency. And I'm not joking, man. Like, we hear and talking, because I've lost 230 pounds and because I've become an ultra marathoner, and it has everything to do with Drew Brees' grind. I'm not joking. I might sound like a 10-year-old boy, and I don't care, but it's the God's honest truth, brother.
I
It's
agree.
the God's honest truth. It's got everything to do with Super Bowl 44. It's got everything to do with watching that man, who I was a fan of at San Diego, watching him and thinking his career was over. And not only was his career not over, but he came to my team and got me a Super Bowl.
That's
and
right.
showed me how to grind, bro.
He did.
He showed me how to work.
That dude's his work
I love
ethic is insane.
I love it. I couldn't be more proud. Yeah, bro. He brought a lot of pride to this state.
Yeah, he did, especially when they needed it after Katrina. He
brought a lot of pride to us, bro.
That block punt, Steve Gleason, that block punt, just
the block punt, right? And
man.
and there's no doubt that I have, and other people have helped me along the way, like Rich Roll and Howard Jacobson. But there's been, a fan, a Flame fan, that was definitely started by Drew Brees and his grind, and me wanting to not just be a witness of all of that, not just wanting to be a bystander as my team was doing great, wonderful things, but I wanted to feel like part of that physical team myself by participating in life in the same way that Drew Brees does, in the same way that Coach expects his players to grind. I want Coach, if he ever finds out about my grind, to go, yep, God dang, son, you did that shit.
2006 season, man, that was the year when I realized that this shit's for real.
It is. I was in my seat for the first time in that Gleason punt. We were in our seats for the very first time. We got our season tickets. My wife, I thought it was crazy, too expensive, all of that stuff. Now we make room for it in our household budget. Like, it's as important as Christmas, And, but yeah, back then it was all still new. And I'm like, we play in the Falcons in the Dome on a Monday night game, and it was everybody's crying. You should have saw the footage they played while U2 and Green Day was singing that song. Oh my God, right?
Right.
And then the punt, and I've never cried more. Me and my wife were like, we didn't cry this much on our wedding day. Later on in life, we're looking back and it was like, I think we've cried more in the Dome than we've cried anywhere else on this planet.
I know.
But we were stuck. They hooked us that night. We were, I love it.
I did. I mean, I cried when they beat Minnesota, and they were going to the Super Bowl.
When we are watching that football go through the uprights.
I jumped
again.
up.
I'm sitting in my seat, and so the way it works in the Dome, I can't really tell on field goal if they make it or not.
Right.
So I gotta look at the big screen so I can get an angle that I can see where that football is. Right. Yeah. And so I'm looking up at the big screen, and you can see before it ever, and I'm checking back from the profile view. It's way before it ever gets there. I'm looking at the big screen, and I know it's good. Before it's ever even there, it's good.
So great.
We're going to the Super Bowl, man.
I was jumping, shaking the house, and my son.
And I'm still over 4 bills back then.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm jumping and hugging my other partner who's probably close to 4 bills, and we both crying.
It's great. That's a fanatic, bro. That's a fanatic.
That's a fanatic, bro. That's it. And I'm not ashamed. I love it.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, you know what? I usually introduce you before we get started, but you know what? I think we got to have that in a podcast too. That little Saints love, we got to have that in a podcast. So
man, I love that. I don't think I've ever talked that extensively about Saints football and what it means to me on a podcast before.
Bro,
that's pretty cool. Yeah,
you and I we could do a whole podcast on this.
We could do days.
Days, man. Well, with that being said, guys, for those that are listening and don't know, this is Josh LaJaunie. He's down there in the hometown of Thibodaux, Louisiana, and thankfully, I'm from Louisiana myself, so I know how to pronounce a few of those words. And the funny thing is, brother, is I'll tell you a little backstory. When I was in the seventh grade, I was in the 7th grade. We was in LA studies, and being that I'm from North Louisiana, we traveled across I-20, and we would go to Rayville and West Monroe every year for Christmas and Thanksgiving to visit my family, my grandparents. And between West Monroe and Rayville, there's a little bayou, and it's called Bayou Lafourche. And it's spelled just like yours is spelled Bayou Lafourche. It looks like Bayou Lafourche or
Right. LaForge or something. Right.
Exactly. So I asked my dad, I was real young, and I said, Dad, how do you pronounce that? He said, that's Bayou Lafourche. And I said, oh, cool. So fast forward to my 7th grade year, we're in LA studies, and we're talking about Bayou Lafourche down in your end of down toward the south, down in your neck of the woods.
Yep.
And I told my teacher, I said, hey, we got a Bayou Lafourche up here. And she said, no, there isn't. I said, yeah, there is. I cross it.
Yeah.
I cross it every damn year. And she said, well, Trey, if you think there's a Bayou Lafourche, I want you to get up on that map and you point it out. So I sure enough got up there, and sure enough, there it was, Bayou Lafourche. Crossing I-20 crosses it.
There's probably a few of them along, you know, in that Louisiana Purchase territory, because it was so much French, you know.
Yeah,
and it's a simple. It just means the fork, and bayou is a lot of bayous. I mean, bayou's fork. So it seems like it's probably a pretty common name for a bayou, I would imagine.
Every time I go through Baton Rouge and somebody says, "Where are you?" I say, "I'm in the Red Stick."
Yeah.
What the hell is the Red Stick? I said, "It's Baton Rouge, man. It's Red Stick." It's it's a culture, man. It's a culture. But dude, man, I honestly I cannot thank you enough for being on this show.
No, as if I'm honored, man.
Brother, you're a hero of mine. I've been following you for a long while, not just because you're a Louisiana boy and a Saints fan. It's just your story is absolutely incredible. And I don't know. I don't know of anybody that epitomizes hard work and determination and desire as hard as you do. I know we talked about Drew, but brother, you're right up there with him.
Oh man, that's special.
Right up there with him. Well, let's before we get going, man, tell me before we get going, we do a little thing called a hot seat. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Sure.
That's where I get to ask you 4 questions. And they're just random questions, so they're just
gotcha.
Just answer them off the top of your head.
For sure.
All right, number 1, the one town in Louisiana that is mispronounced the most or the worst.
One town in Louisiana. There's a lot of them.
What's the one that you've heard brutalized the worst?
Yeah.
Other than your last name.
Natchitoches.
Oh, yes.
Natchitoches, bro. It's so simple, but to look at it, you're like, what the hell? Was somebody using their elbows to type that?
Too many T's and CH's. And
Natchitoches gets destroyed, man.
That's great. That's great. All right, man. Number 2, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen? The new one?
Fuck, I ain't watching the new one. No. Never. I can't even watch the trailer.
My wife hates the old It and will not watch the new one either.
I don't like nothing to do with clowns being scary.
That's great.
That ain't right. That's messed up.
I love it, man. I love it.
That's like kids being evil and stuff. And I can't do horror movies, bro.
I love them. I love scary movies.
Ooh, I can't do it. I'd rather have some good film, something by Chris Hart or something, make me laugh a little bit. I mean, not Chris, Kevin Hart or somebody, but
yeah. Number 3, what tragic artist's life would you like to live out in real life in the hopes that you could change the outcome? And it could be an actor, musical, recording artist.
I'd have to say Reggie White. Reggie White died of a massive heart attack not long after he retired. And I think, having that platform, that stature, that mass, to be able, if I could have him and be in his feet and use that position to teach people what I know now, could change a lot.
That's a good one.
Change a lot of people's lives, bro.
That's a good one, man. Reggie White and his platform and his message.
I love him. He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
All right, number 4 is the last one. It's a would you rather question. They're always my favorite. Would you rather have hands for feet or feet for hands?
I think I'd rather have feet for hands, bro. I could run like a horse then, probably. Could probably double my speed, bro. Because nobody touched me in a fight. It's like, damn, he's running 10-minute 5Ks now.
Oh, that's great, bro. That's great. All right, man. That's the hot seat.
I mean, hey, let me do a part B to the sad ending question too, man. Just to give a shout out also to a fat boy.
Yeah.
Jared Lorenzen, bro.
Who
You
is
know Jared Lorenzen, the hefty lefty. He was a big. Back in our, well, I don't know how old you are, but when I was in high school, he was at Kentucky, and he was like a 300-pound, 6'7", 300 and something pound quarterback, right?
Jared Lorenzen? Yeah.
Jared Lorenzen, and he got drafted by the Giants. Had a brief career there, and then just ballooned up out of sight after football, and he died recently. After struggling publicly with his weight and trying to fix it on Instagram and on his Instagram page. Just tore my heart out, because that could be me, bro. That could be so many of my homies that I played ball with.
Yeah.
And I wish I could get in his machine and run the levers for just 6 months or so and help him out.
Wow, that's a shame, bro. That's a shame. And it happens to so many, especially O-linemen, defensive.
So many of us ex-football players just go down that road, a big, fat, heavy, and we think it's just superficial, like, oh, yeah, I'm fat. No, man, the things that you're doing to get fat is destroying your cardiovascular system, is destroying your brain, is destroying your endocrine system, is making your body more inflamed. You're getting depressed. It's not just a belly.
You're right, man. I was pushing 3 bills myself. The last time I weighed 295. I didn't want to weigh anymore. Scared the hell out of me. Scared the shit.
Yeah, me too. I quit. Yeah.
My mother or my dad had a heart attack, and he died in front of me while I was driving him to the hospital, and I brought him back to life. Yeah, I brought him back to life. I hit him in the chest with a pericardial thump, popped him in the chest. He came back. We brought him back. He made it. My mother died shortly after that of pancreatic cancer, and then I had a heart scare myself. I was, like I said, pushing 300 and had a heart scare myself. I have a genetic disorder. It's a familial hypercholesterolemia. My body creates too much cholesterol, and will not get rid of it. So I had to do something, and so I did it. I made a change and went plant-based, and my cholesterol dropped from 300s to 147. And
that's what I'm talking about, baby.
No meds,
right?
Nothing.
There's no keto in the Facebook comments that can weigh no keto comment that can weigh on that.
No, there's none. So it made a complete 180 or 180, change in my life.
That's beautiful.
Ethically, environmentally,
it does. It changes your soul, bro.
It does. It is. It's an awakening. So it is so important to get this message out, and folks like you who, and we'll get into it for sure, but just folks like you that were pushing that 420, which you've said before, between 400 and 420 pounds, to be able to push that and then turn around and be where it is absolutely amazing. Especially when we're talking about the culture down in Louisiana, man. Tell us about. Well, first of all, man, you grew up in Thibodaux.
Mm-hmm. I grew up. I went to the schools, and Thibodaux is the big town. I actually I identify most of my friends are from my circle of friends, the people I'm closest with. I'm really from in Thibodaux, what people would understand, but I'm from Chackbay. Chackbay is right outside of Thibodaux. Chackbay is just north of Thibodaux in the swamp. So when you head out of Thibodaux, heading out towards New Orleans, to take the straightest route from Thibodaux, you would go north through Chackbay and hit 3127 and through the big swamp back there. But that's us. That's what I'm from Chackbay, from the swamp. Really.
And you still live there today?
Yeah. Well, I live in a place called Shreva, which is like Homer's Chackbay. But it's really close. But I'm in Chackbay every single day. My brothers and my sister and my mom, everybody still lives there. I work there every day. My office is there. I'm still very much in Chackbay.
Southernmost point you've ever been to in Louisiana?
Venice. I've been to Venice. I've been out the mouth of the Mississippi River on a tuna trip, Yeah.
The furthest I think I went was Galliano.
Yeah, Galliano. Yeah, that's where
furthest I went.
Yeah, that's where my buddy, if you follow me, because I'm always running with him, Wally Knocking, he calls him, he's the Sabin runner. He calls himself the Sabin runner on Instagram. That's his handle. You don't follow him. Dude's a beast. I love him. He's like my big brother, and he's from Galliano. I think he's from Galliano.
Yeah.
We call that DTB. That's down to buy it. Right? That's down to buy it. They sound different than us.
it's a different breed, man. I mean, it's cool. It's fun.
That's where Bobby Hebert's from. So Bobby Hebert's from a little further up the bayou than Galliano, but he's from Cutoff. Same thing. That's that thick DTB accent is something. They wild.
The Cajun Cannon. Yeah. I spent a lot of time down in South Louisiana, man. New Orleans and they're across the Pontchartrain and Metairie and I'm not Metairie. I'm sorry, and Covington.
Mandeville and all. Yeah.
Well, we spent time over in Metairie too. We had an office down there. Used to do roofing and construction down in that area. So
a lot
of time down in Louisiana, down in South Louisiana, and Houma and Galliano. They had some properties we used to work on. So
gotcha.
Very familiar with it. But the culture, bro. I know you didn't grow when you were young. You weren't a big kid, were you? I mean, you were just a normal sized kid growing up.
Yeah, I was a beanpole, like going through like kindergarten and all. Mm-hmm. And I was always on just the hefty side of slim, all the way till I really started playing football.
Yeah,
and then I started playing football and started bulking up, over the years, which I was always encouraged to get, because I was so tall, I was encouraged to get bigger.
Sure.
Because the position I was playing, like when I first started playing football, I wanted to be a linebacker or a tight end or something. That's what I wanted to play. I just wasn't fast enough. It fleshed out that way.
Sure.
I really wasn't fast enough or skilled enough, I don't guess, back then. Because I was young and goofy with my body. I mean, I grew so fast. I was big, but I didn't really, I would have been more useful to the team as a hefty big guy down on the line, soaking up defenders. I wasn't exactly the most athletic guy on the field, which is what most offensive linemen that's how they wind up being offensive linemen. So yeah, I was usually just on the large side of slim up until then. And then football really helped me put the weight on. And then I had a purpose, and it really helped me develop, because I already had really hefty eating habits because of my family. And it was just exacerbated really by being a football player as well. Because now the food is recovering you. Now the food is making you bigger and more important and healthy, a better lineman and for your team. And so there's this partnership relationship you have with overeating. Now, yeah. It's not overeating. It's almost like a workout. It's like I need to eat all this food because I'm this big.
That's right.
And then that role in your life goes away for whatever reason. And my God, you realize you're completely, hopelessly addicted to those habits, to those eating patterns.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then the lights go out. The Friday night lights go out.
And then you get big and fat.
If you're lucky, you get to go to the Saturday night lights. And if you're really super blessed, you go to the Sunday night lights. And unfortunately, many don't, and they don't change their habits.
Yeah, and you just get big and fat, and it's not about being big and fat because being fat is ugly. That's not the problem.
No,
that's not the problem.
No,
And let's just talk about it in real terms. Let's talk about biometrics other than body weight for a minute, fellas. And how food affects those things. Forget about six-pack abs and losing all 200 pounds right now. Let's talk about, like you, let's talk about getting that cholesterol down below 150, player.
That's it. Or the blood pressure.
Yeah.
Or diabetes.
Triglycerides. You name it. Yeah. Blood sugar, your blood glucose levels. Like there's so many different things going on inside your body that you can pay attention to them on purpose and really discern some progress long before you see the scale start to move in a significant way that makes you happy. Right?
That's true. I mean, almost every story you ever hear that, like yours, or even like Mr. Eric O'Gray.
Eric's a beast too.
If you listen to his story, and I'm sure yours was the same way. I'm sure you didn't look in the mirror one day and see your belly shrinking down, and that's when you found out that your cholesterol was dropping, or your high blood pressure was dropping, or whatever. That all kind of went first, and that's what's most important. The weight will come after. It'll come.
Yeah. The first thing you need to understand is how to set the table in your life and orient yourself towards perpetual pragmatic growth.
That's right.
It's not about doing it all. It's about getting to that next step. You get there, get settled, get that next one, get there, get settled, get that next one. And do that all the way till we in that pine box, man.
Be consistent.
Yeah. And it's fun. It's not daunting. And it has so much to do with that self-story in the beginning. Oh, this is going to be hard. Wait, I got to do this for the rest of my life? Oh, my God.
Exactly. And you even talk about it, and we'll get into it in a little bit about you, how you started to run. But, the food there in the South, and, people say, well, Josh, I've even heard Rich say it before in his podcast that you live basically in a food desert, and your retort to that was so hilarious, was that I think everybody's got a damn grocery store.
I have never been in a grocery store without a produce department.
Every grocery store has a little corner that you walk into. It's either on the left or the right when you walk in.
I've never been to a grocery store, regardless of how podunk that thing is, where I was like, hey, y'all got potatoes? What's potatoes? Never. Not one time.
Oh, they're there. And that's what I tell people. Ask me and say, hey man, what do you eat? How do you give me some recipes? And that's what I tell them. I say, hey man, just walk in the grocery store, look to the left or to the right. There's a produce aisle. Just start picking.
Get you some mustard. Get a little bottle of mustard.
There you go.
And then squirt it on some broccoli and cauliflower if that's all you can find.
Hey man.
Whatever.
Exactly. But the food, man. Talk about the food. I know what an oyster po' boy is. I know. But man, talk about the food down in Louisiana, down South Louisiana.
Well, of course it's hyper palatable. It's extremely tasty. And we've elevated it to obscene levels because we're also a competitive people. Right? So
that's what we're known for.
Oh, that dude's jambalaya is good, but I'm gonna do that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm gonna put twice the amount of smoked sausage. And I'm going to throw some tasso in there and some ground breakfast sausage. That's going to be my secret.
There you go.
And you do all these little things and start off your roux with bacon and right? And so it's delicious, right? There's no argument. And it has been honed and crafted and evolved to be just like, Doritos with the food manufacturer that makes Doritos, how they've gotten better and better and more tasty to where it hit that perfect bliss point, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And we do the same thing organically as a culture, as we have developed these foods to be bliss point centric at the cost of our health. And we lead the nation in dying from our own decisions.
That's right.
But it's delicious. I don't think it's worth it. I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think it is. But I understand the mouthfeel, understand the satisfaction of a crispy piece of fried speckled trout on a warm plate of white beans and rice. Mm-hmm. Understand how good pork sausage tastes in your gumbo. I get it. I know it tastes good. I'm not arguing that with you. Sure. I'm asking you if you want to have a heart attack or not. That's what I'm asking.
I've always said that the from here up, food's amazing. It's amazing. Mm. That's where all the magic happens.
Where all the magic happens, right in that mouth. That's it.
From here down, from the chin down, that's where all the hell happens. Yeah. Or the good. Eating all that hyper palatable food like that, it's akin to masturbating. It is. It's a quick fix.
It's a quick fix, and you feel dirty, and then it's all
after it's over.
Right.
But it always calls you back.
It is always. You always go and do it again.
It always calls you back. And our tongues, they look for three different things. They either look for sugar, salt, or fat. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that
I started talking about it like that in I'm just jerking off with my mouth. That's weird. That's gross.
Well, you're getting a fix.
No. Yeah, I'm gonna eat broccoli instead on purpose. I'm gonna go for a run, and I'm gonna feel good about my body.
There you go.
I'm gonna feel good about my athletic prowess, and that's tricky.
It is tricky.
Because because the first thing, like we did a jump start down here, and I got a bunch of my old coon-ass buddies that I play. I got a buddy of mine I play ball with, who was a beanpole when we played ball. Now that mother, he's got to be over 400 pounds. He's got type 2 diabetes. He's talking about losing his sight. He's almost blind. Right? And I try to help him out with his jump start. We did some frozen meals that were all 100% plant-based, no oil and stuff. And the only thing he had to say about the food was, it ain't that bad. That's the rubric. That's what everybody's judging the food on as a Cajun, as a Louisiana person.
Sure.
It's all palate oriented. There's no deeper, nuanced appreciation of the food you're eating because it helps you not get vascular dementia and or have a massive heart attack.
Right.
At, say, maybe Christmas Day in front of your family.
It's because it hadn't happened yet.
Right? All right.
You don't think about it. It hadn't happened yet.
That's right. All you can think about is, ooh, was that good or not? It wasn't good. I ain't got time for medium. I need awesome because guess what? Monday, I got to go back to work. And right now, I'm just looking for awesome.
But you know, hey, Josh, man, hey, everybody's got to die something, man. I might as well die happy, right? Isn't that right? That's what they say?
That's the trick. That's the misnomer. That's what people think because I thought the same thing until I saw my Bam Bam die over a series of years. I was like, oh, it's not so clear cut.
That's right.
You don't just die of a massive heart attack just 10 years earlier than your buddy. No. You die slowly. You die slowly over time. And then the last few years of your life, if you are able to stick around long enough and not have that massive heart attack, you just live with the consequences of having a compromised cardiovascular system that starves your organs, starves your brains and your lungs, and everything about your body is starved of blood because you have this rigid, decrepit cardiovascular system that just has trouble getting life liquid to the parts of your body that need it most.
That's right.
And so then you deteriorate over time mentally and you don't know your own name. You don't know your friends' names. You don't remember that you used to like to go fishing. You don't know that it's fun. You don't remember you have a boat, and you watch all of that, at least for me, real time, and you go, you know what? Yeah, I'm not doing it that way. I think my Bam Bam would be super, super, super disappointed and angry at me if I signed up for the exact same thing he did when I saw what that existence precipitated.
That's right.
I think he would pop me in the back of the head. It would be like if we were in a boat together and I was in one boat, he was in another boat, and he said, follow me. And he ran into a damn sandbar and I ran into it too because you said follow you. Right? Instead, who's going to get us off the freaking bar? Who's going to get us off the sandbar, Joshua? You got to have some gumption on your own. You got to be able to make decisions that you're not sure if your peers or your family is going to be okay with. You got to be okay with sticking your neck out there and going, oh, is this the right thing? I'm doing it. I'm doing it. This is the right thing. I'm doing it.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that people die slower, and people always ask, what'd they die of? What'd they die of? They died of cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest means your heart stopped. Mm-hmm. It's like you said, the things that precipitated that, the things that came before that. Are you on oxygen? Are you on dialysis? Are you on blood thinners? Are you on, statins?
Oh God, statins.
It's
weird because that's the thing. My Bam Bam's had cardiovascular disease for decades.
Sure.
Been on statins for decades. You read any studies on that, and now you start to appreciate not only is the vascular part of his condition contributing to his dementia, but the pharmaceutical part of treating that is contributing to his dementia and the weakening of his brain.
That's right.
It's a double whammy. It compounds.
And statins don't do anything but damage your liver anyway.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's insane. And like I said, people say, well, you got to die of something. And you know what I tell them? I said, you're right. You do got to die of something, but you also have to live for something.
Mm-hmm. That's more important, baby. Yep.
What are you living for? And it becomes a selfish, extremely selfish way of life because, you want to enjoy yourself and have good food, but you are perpetuating your illnesses on somebody else, whether it's friends, family, loved ones. They're going to have to either take care of you and you're later on in life, in ways that you probably don't want to be taken care of.
Somebody's got to help you haul the hover around. Somebody's got to help you with the walker. Somebody's got to help you in and out of the thing. Somebody's going to have to help you with your compression socks.
And that's the good side. That's not taking you to the toilet or having to find
or dealing with, like for my Bam Bam, dealing with prolapsed hemorrhoids.
There you go.
Right? And me, his grandson, having to and my brother too, because we were the only males. So we dealt with putting suppositories in him.
Yeah.
You know, that'll catch your attention, bro.
It will. It's a scary thing, man. It's a scary thing. And unfortunately, it's scary that people don't pay attention to it until it's too late or until they're right there. Because, usually the first sign of a heart attack is the last one.
Yeah.
That's it. You're gone.
That's it. That's the first. Usually, I think the stats is like, a quarter of the time, your very first sign of cardiovascular disease is to drop dead.
I had cardiovascular disease at 6. 6 years old, brother. I had hardening of the arteries. I had atherosclerosis at 6 years old. 6. Didn't know what I had. I had no clue.
God dang, bro.
Liver and spleen was super enlarged. Thought I had liver cancer. Didn't know what to have.
Crushing donuts and eating milk, wondering what's up too, probably, huh?
Milk was my drug of choice at the time. I could chug it out of a gallon jug. I'd just go to the refrigerator and chug it. I was 6, bro. 6.
Unbelievable. But that was me too with milk, man. Good God. I wish I had my old biometrics. I wish I had some, because I would go when I had the envie, like when it was hot and I had the envie for something cold to drink. It disgusts my friends. Like, but if I was outside cutting grass, I'd come inside and pound like a quarter of a gallon and I wanted whole milk, like that thick stuff,
Exactly. That thick stuff. Absolutely.
It's like it carried that cold temperature down into my body better than water or something, or something, the thickness of the coating of it or something. I don't know, and I still do now. Like I'll chug a glass of almond milk. I mean, my wife thinks that's crazy.
Yeah, I do. I try to stay mostly with water too. But yeah, man, if you it's that. I used to tell my wife when she would buy milk a long time ago. I tell her, I said, baby, that's like having beer in the refrigerator and an alcoholic not being able to drink it. I mean, that's what it was like. It was that close.
Yeah, you can feel it in your mouth. It's delicious. Milk is.
Oh yeah.
I grew up on it. My mama used to probably buy 2 or 3 gallons of milk a week for our house. When I was a teenager, man, I used to just pound it.
When did you start noticing, man? When did it start looking like it was a problem for Josh, man?
Probably like periodically all my life. I was like, but the biggest one for me, bro, was after Arkansas, like after my football was over with.
Yeah.
And I started to come to grips with the fact, like, whoa, I'm not a football player anymore. I don't need to be big.
Right.
So I'm going to fix this. I'm not going to be big anymore. This was probably in 2000 or 99. This was in 1999. Right. And so immediately, when I couldn't play ball anymore, I started like trying to lose weight. Right. I wasn't going to practice. I wasn't going to the field house anymore, but I would eat 1 salad a day.
How big were you then?
I was 330 when I played ball. 330 in college, my freshman year. And I hurt my back early on. And so I was out, but I could still go to the gym. I just couldn't hit and do all of the stuff we were doing in training camp, but I could go get on the bike at the gym, or I could go play racquetball with myself and just work up a big sweat.
Yeah.
And so I immediately started back then, and then that gets old and put weight back on. And I come back home drinking, and then you're like, oh, well, life goes on, and you don't really do anything about it.
Right.
You get a little heavier. My grandmother died in 2001. That really, 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 really hurt me. I was not prepared for that death.
Was this your Bam Bam's wife?
Bam Bam's wife, yeah. Yep. She died in 2001 suddenly of a massive not suddenly. She had a massive heart attack on our way home from there. They had just retired, and they went on their first vacation after retirement to South America. And they came home, and my mom picked them up at the airport, and my grandmother was in a wheelchair when she got off the plane.
Damn.
Wasn't feeling well. Well, she had had a massive heart attack. We get to the hospital. We found out that her heart was so damaged, she could no longer support the rest of the organs in her body.
Oh my God.
And so the decision was made to just put her on a morphine drip and make her comfortable until she died. And it took her 9 days to die.
Mm.
So that crushed me. And around that same time, memory is fuzzy, but I had a really good friend of mine who she was a girl. And so it's kind of one of those friend zone deals where you're friends, but you kind of crushing on her. And she's giving mixed signals, and you know how guys are with girls and stuff. And that girl died suddenly on me. She was she did a lot of OxyContin, and it killed her one night.
Oh my God.
And that, like, those two things, like my mama dying, and then she died like that. That was pretty tragic on me. A lot of drinking, and alcohol puts a lot of weight on you, and a lot of cooking around, like me and my Bam just trying to entertain people and go to the camp and go fishing and just get our mind off of all of this shit. And I felt like I was kind of in a similar boat as Bam because I had lost my girl and he had lost his girl, you know?
That's right.
And so feeling sad and stuff, and you just getting fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter. And then after that, I started trying to lose weight again. Xenadrin came around.
Oh,
Xenadrin with ephedra, right?
Yeah.
Dude, tore it up. I lost weight like a crack addict. I was losing weight like crazy. Looked good. I got all the way down to 2 extra large shirt. I was down to about 260 or so.
Yeah.
And we did our high school alumni softball tournament that year. I'll never forget. I was feeling all slim and fit. And then ephedra got banned.
Yeah.
So I tried hydroxycut, and I tried the other Xenadrin, and I tried taking Minifins from the grocery store. Nothing was the same.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't get that drug. That it was essentially a drug. I also tried Adipex online. I found a source for it online, and I bought some Adipex because I had some bodybuilder friends who were also, helping me try to figure out how to do some weight loss things. And so, but chemically, right?
Sure.
And so, and none of that really worked. And I slowly was putting all of my weight back on. And then I met my wife. I wasn't all the way fat yet again, but I was definitely on the way back up. And I met my wife, and we, got together, and then she helped. She was like, Josh, I love you no matter what. You know that, right? I knew you when you were big and heavy because I had lost weight when we were together. She knows when we got together, she knew me as a bigger person. But we got together, and then after I was already on my way to putting weight back on when she and I met.
So you knew her before?
We knew each other basically our whole lives. Right. She babysat for my old boss. So she knew me, but I was a public school guy.
Sure.
Public school trash. She's an Edie White girl, private school girl here in Thibodaux. And, she knew who I was. I knew who she was, but we didn't really commingle per se.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
And then so we get together, and she tells me, Josh, I've always crushed on you even when you were big. It never bothered me.
That's awesome.
And so I was like, and like, lo and behold, within a year I put on 100 pounds. And then by the time we got married, I was up to over 400 pounds.
Wow.
She still married me. Like, she married me. And at the time I was married, like when we got married, I wore a size 62 long jacket. Mm-hmm. They had I got the biggest size in Men's Warehouse on Causeway Boulevard. in New Orleans. I got the biggest suit they had. My brother couldn't get a suit there. We had to order one.
So he was bigger?
Online. My brother was bigger than me. Yeah.
Wow.
And so we had to order a suit for my brother online. Crushed his whole, it just killed him. Because we were there, like me and my groomsmen.
Yeah.
Were there together, and we were going to walk out of there with a suit together. So everyone would know what they were wearing on wedding day, except for my brother. He had to go dig and try to find one that kind of matched what we had, you know. And so after my wedding, you know, I was going back to school at that point, right? And my wife had encouraged me to, you know, pick up a book and read. You're a smart guy.
Sure.
Keep pulling that thread. Be smarter. Keep pulling that thread. It's okay to get smarter. And I was like, okay. And I go back to school. And by the time we got married, I had just a couple of years left. And so fast forward to 2010, you know, I tried losing weight again. 2009, I tried losing weight again because we were going to Miami for a Saints game, the regular season game in 2009. So I lost 40 or 50 pounds leading up to that game. I felt good. I was wearing smaller clothes. I think I had gotten down to 3X because I had bounced up off of 2X by then. And I was like down to maybe 3X shirts and stuff, 4X. And I was like, oh yeah, feeling good. Go watch the game. Epic freaking comeback win, all of that stuff. It was great. And then,
I remember that game. Yeah.
Then immediately after the Miami trip, boom. Because we got the rest of this season and it's looking like we might go to the Super Bowl, and it's tailgate after, you know, watch party for away games, or travel to another away game, or go to Atlanta, because we went to Atlanta for a lot of games. And so, yeah, I just got bigger and heavier. But when we won the Super Bowl, and I was also in my last year as a student, my mind was different then. Something was changing. I was feeling differently about myself because I knew that I was going to get my degree.
Mm-hmm. And when you say changing, like you knew you wanted to make a change.
I knew I was changing my approach. It wasn't just about losing weight. It became about self-pride, self-determination, growth, hard work, pragmatism, all of the things I had seen exhibited by Coach and Drew.
Sure.
You know, and here we are, 2011, after we got a Super Bowl victory. My beautiful wife married me no matter what. I thought that would have been impossible. And here I am standing here as a senior at Nicholls State, finally about to earn my degree. And so you asked the moment when I had been through so much in my life to that point, right? That in 2011, when I knew I was a senior, I knew I was going to have a big presentation to do at the end of the year.
Right.
And I didn't want to be big and fat. I was so embarrassed about putting a suit on and getting in front of these young kids and sweating like a big fat man. And so that's when it started. Was in 2011, but it was a different vibe to it this time. It was different. It wasn't just about losing weight at all costs. I already had the girl. I wasn't worried about that anymore. I had the girl, you know. I felt good about myself. I wanted to prove it.
You know,
that changed. Yeah.
I was reading in your free Josh LaJaunie manifesto.
Yeah.
That is so popular. There was a part of it that it really touched me, man. It was when you're talking about when you finally picked up or purchased a scale that could be at 500, and you got on the scale, and then after that, talk about how you looked in the mirror, and that.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, man.
Yeah,
that story touches me, man.
Yep, that's where we are right now. In that point that's in 2011.
Yeah.
When I first started going back to the gym in February with my buddy Jeffrey.
Yeah.
There wasn't a scale that could weigh me.
Right.
Like the one at the gym only went up to 350. It was like one of those old doctor scales.
Yeah.
Those only go up to 350. And then the one at home would just say error when I stepped on it.
Yeah.
And so BJ, after she'd seen me, I had been going to the gym religiously for weeks and weeks and weeks. You could see it in my face. I was starting to lose weight.
Sure.
And I was like, my goal at that time was, man, I just want to get light enough to be able to register on BJ's scale.
There you go.
And it wasn't happening. And BJ could see it was bothering me.
Right.
And she got me a scale and brought it home. And she said, I know you want to know. Let's see. And I was still 390.
Mm.
No, I was 397. 397 after all that work.
Damn.
And after my face was starting to shrink and it was obvious that I had lost weight and my clothes were starting to get big on me a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I could feel my clothes fitting looser and I was like, damn, I'm still 400 pounds after all of this work.
No telling how big you were before you started.
No telling, man. And so I was like, I'm 3 pounds away from 400 pounds. That's a good dump. You know, that's
yeah.
That's a good dump. I'm a dump away. It's like, holy.
What do you say? You're a po' boy away? Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, something. Right. I don't remember exactly, but sure. And it's like, it's crazy. Literally 1 meal away from 400 pounds. It's insane. And I was like, no. And I looked at myself in the mirror because I remember, and I still do it if I'm being honest with everyone in the world right now. But it has a little bit different weight to it. But I would stand in the mirror and grab my belly, and it would fit around my arms. My arms would disappear.
Wow.
Behind my belly, and I would pick it up like that and shake it. And like, I wish I could just rip this shit off of me. You know, I just wish. And I look at myself in the mirror crying, and I tell myself out loud, not inside my head, out loud, and move my lips. What the fuck did you do? Look at me. We're going to fix this. And I can't say that it has been a perpetually upward sloping curve since then. That'd be 100% lie. But I have committed to taking next steps when I see them, when I find them, when I discover them on purpose all the time in my life. And I'm looking for them. I'm always, who cares? I've lost 230 pounds. I've run ultra marathons. I've done who cares? What's next?
What's next? That's right.
And that's how we go forward. We're either going forward or we're going backwards. There's no, I made it to my goal weight. I'm going to hang out right here. Bah! Not happening. That's not how it plays out. Either we sign up for perpetual growth or we perpetually slide backwards.
So you didn't have goals. You didn't have. I know you have goals, but I'm saying you didn't have a milestone, a set milestone that I need to get to here, and that's it. Yeah, but I'll move forward.
But it changed, right? I kept moving the goalpost. So initially, Josh, let's just get back down to playing weight, which was 330.
There you go.
So, I could get back down, and then you get back down to 350, 340, 330 starts approaching. You're like, I can get back down to high school playing weight now. What if I get down to 295? That was the best shape of my life at 295. I was a monster. And then I got down to 305. And I got down to 300. I'm like, whoa, here I am. I'm there. And I'm going to tell you, I got to 300. I got very close to 300 in the spring and summer of 2012, right? But I stalled out big time, and I got videos that I'll share with you I've shared before. I know why, because I was running and working out. I was a big heavy man. My default calorie burn was way up there because when you're heavy, you're burning a lot of calories just to be alive and go to Walmart.
That's right.
So that weight, now that I was a 300-pound man, I wasn't burning nearly the amount of calories, just living life. My workouts were pretty much the same. So I was actually sliding backwards in my calorie burn. I wasn't aware, really. I wasn't aware that nuance. I didn't have that nuanced understanding yet. And so because I had lost weight and still ate pork ribs and brisket and hog head cheese and boudin and cracklings, and I had still lost 100 pounds, I thought I would be able to keep doing that and and lose another 100. And so in 2012, I really wavered. I got down to a really low point to about 290, and then started coming all the way back up to 300, to 310, 315, and didn't want to look at the scale anymore again in 2012, right? But the trick was, after my first Crescent City Classic, which was early 2012, in April, my wife had convinced me to sign up for the next one and do it in under an hour. Yeah. So I knew I had this big goal on the horizon, but I also knew deep down my secret was I was putting my weight back on. I struggled for the rest of that year, really, going up and down. It was a flexion point. I could have put all my weight back on at that point. But what changed was at the beginning of 2013, BJ, my wife, she decided, hey, let's eat clean for Lent. And that's what we did. I ate clean for Lent, and eating clean made me feel real good.
Sure.
I pooed better. I was pooing better because I was taking all kind of Metamucil and Dulcolax because I was so low carb up until this point, right?
Right.
So all meat. And but now with this eating clean thing, I was pooping good. I was feeling lighter. And then lo and behold, I run the next Crescent City Classic in 2013 after eating not vegan, but very plant-based for all of Lent in 2013. And lo and behold, we finish under an hour. Boom. I was really excited. But what also started, I started reading Born to Run before Crescent City Classic. I finished the book after Crescent City Classic.
The first Crescent City Classic? The first one?
The second one. The one where I finished under an hour, and we started eating clean. And so as I'm eating clean, I'm also reading this book about Scott Jurek, and I'm learning about the Tarahumara Indians and all of that stuff, right? Yeah. And and then I immediately went into from Born to Run. I immediately went into Scott Jurek's book Eat and Run, and then immediately went into Rich Roll, and it was like boom, boom, boom. I'm hooked. I'm in, and I was all in by the end of April that year. By my birthday, actually, April 13th, we went to dinner, and I went completely vegetarian on April 13th. I gave up meat. That was my birthday. I was feeling good about my decision. This is going to be a new page in my life. My wife was on board. I've Googled vegetarian restaurants and found a place called Cafe Carmo in New Orleans. And me and my wife went there for my birthday. She had pulled pork because they had both. You didn't have to eat meatless. Right. So my wife had a pulled pork sandwich, and I had something, and it had some kind of cheese on it. It was something cheesy. I don't remember exactly. And then 2 weeks later, maybe I completely got rid of cheese altogether and was completely plant-based, because by then I had seen Forks Over Knives and started reading the China Study, and I was like, oh, the rest is gone. And it didn't take long. And that's how I wound up. And then at that point, it was just being vegan. That was it. I was just vegan. It wasn't necessarily plant-based. I mean, it wasn't necessarily whole food plant-based at all, or even a consideration until I learned more about that. And then that started to clean up some of the veggie burgers and some of the other things I had been eating in, and to get to where I am now. But I'm constantly morphing. Like, I'm experimenting. Like right now, 2 years ago, if somebody would have said, Burger King has the Impossible Burger there now, I would have made a big, long rant about how terrible it is that, It's just a play pretty for people who are already fat and sick. It's not really going to help you get anywhere. It's just a head fake and doing something and blah, blah, blah. But right now, I see it differently. It's just, yes, it's like my buddy David Clark says, I see it as a positive thing. I don't think that we need to preach abstinence too hard to people, especially that are just considering this.
True. That's right.
As much as we need to just explain the power of palatability to people, whether they're vegan or not, the power that processed food has in the palate and in the brain. And if you can understand that and be very respectful of that power, and don't decide to jump into whitewater rapids without a life vest. Don't decide to go jump into, an Impossible Burger Whopper without your head on a swivel. Pay attention to the sensations if you're going to do that. Are you drawn to eat French fries too, with some ketchup too? Do you want some cheese too? Now, do you have a hankering for one of those apple pies? If that's the case, then Impossible Burger is not going to help you. No,
you're right.
Right?
That's right.
And so I just being willing to go from one set of ideas to experiment and play and be pragmatic and move through decisions. This is not a decision that's always all the way fleshed out with me. I had an Impossible Burger at in Las Vegas at a place called the Modern Vegan with all of my friends. We were just finished with Badwater. I hadn't had a real meal in 3 days. We've been eating race gels and Lara bars. So I went and I tried it, and it was like mixed emotions because it was both amazing and scary all at the same time. It's like, holy shit, this is actually a hamburger.
They can do this. They can do this.
Wild. This is crazy. So it's not like, what it did was, I think it was a useful tasting, because it scared me a bit.
Yeah.
It was delicious, but it was also like, yeah, that's what I'm getting away from. Whether it's vegan or not, that super hyper palatable stuff is really the source of my problem. Not necessarily that it's it being meat centered, it being animal centered, it makes it 10 times worse, right? But the palatability draws you in. And you can really hurt yourself with that type of food, even if it doesn't have animal products in it. So being able to live an awake, sort of in the moment life where you're as pragmatic and objective as possible, is going to help you be able to, I think, decide whether you're a person who can deal with those types of things periodically in your life, or you're going to struggle,
Yeah, and I don't think that's no different than anyone. Everyone has an addiction of some sorts, and if you're addicted to food, then the Impossible Burger may not be for you.
Yeah,
I can go to a casino. I can go on a cruise. I can go to a casino. I can go to the casino at the cruise. I can walk through, and honestly, could give two rats' asses if I'm in there or not.
Yeah,
there's people who probably couldn't go to that floor of the cruise to go. They'd have
no doubt.
So, I eat mostly raw food, fruits and vegetables, mostly fruits. And when I started out, hell, for the first 2 weeks, I think I joke about it, but it's serious. I think I ate ramen noodles, and didn't know what the hell to do. But I progressively got cleaner and cleaner.
Because if you turn your attention and intention and focus towards, hey, how do I hone this and make it better?
That's right.
You can, but you got to decide to move forward. You can't sit there and go, hey, I'm doing this now, and wait for things to happen.
And I can't eat that kind of food because I will. It is like a gateway to me. It is.
And not only that, but it will affect your cholesterol too.
And it will. That's right. Because
the added fat in there, the oils and all of that stuff, it's going to make your cholesterol go up really quickly. I've seen it in a lot of the people we work with.
Yeah, fat's fat. Fat's fat, and it's it doesn't matter if it's plant based or. I told somebody, I think it was.
I mean, just because you're not eating cholesterol doesn't mean that you're not going to have elevated cholesterol levels by eating olive oil and coconut oil and,
That's right. That's right.
all these other things.
And
Because I've just seen, or even nuts, just nuts.
True.
I have a friend of mine, I went and do a talk, and he's a doctor, and he's like, I've been plant-based for so long, my cholesterol just couldn't get it down below. I kept noticing it kept going up to it was up around 170 and blah, blah, blah. He's like, you know what I did? He said it was the cashews that I had in my life. I had to stop buying cashews in bulk and keeping them in the house. Now my cholesterol's at 130.
Sometimes that's all it is,
Yep.
Sometimes that's all it is. And I have to be very, very, very careful.
But it's about, you have to be willing to sign on to like really taking yourself on and looking at all of your individual things, your biometrics,
right,
and understanding that they're unique and understanding that you have the power to control them. You can understand them. You know what's up. And then you have a more nuanced understanding of what your results should be.
right.
And so if you are getting the results that are indicating that you're moving in the right direction, then that's as good as your protocol needs to be at the moment. It doesn't matter if it's completely 100% Esselstyn compliant today.
Sure.
That's the North Star. It'll help guide us along the way. But for right now, let's keep chipping away at these biometrics. And along the way, every month or so, we go, you lost 10 pounds also. By the way, that's fun.
You said that you dropped down to playing weight. Then you got down to the 300s, and you wanted to break that 300 mark. There's so many people, me included, in the past, that I would get to a weight that I thought I wanted to be at, and then I stop, and you progress back. And I think a lot of people do that. How do you get the mindset of keep progressing toward that goal? What did you switch for you?
Doing physically difficult things because it hardens you. It hardens you because what happens is it's a real soft thing to go, I'm going to temporarily endure this diet till I hit 250 and then fuck this diet. It's over with. Excuse my French, right? That's what we do. That's weak to do that because you're saying to yourself, I just cannot take it.
Right.
But in the meantime, and no doubt I was doing that as I was losing weight. That was my mental part. But because I wanted to lose weight faster, I had started to implement running. And running forces you to go somewhere in your soul because it's hard. It's difficult. It takes a lot out of you.
But Josh, I'm 350 pounds, man. My ankles hurt. I can't run.
I know.
What do I do?
Don't run. Walk. Get the Couch to 5K app. Walk from here to the driveway and back. Report. Let me know how that feels. If it didn't hurt too bad, do it 4 times. Do it 5 times. Tomorrow, go around the block. I'll tell you right now, I know an ultra marathoner today who's run a 50-mile race who started off by getting out of his chair without using the arms.
Yes.
It don't matter where you start, player. The grind matters. The commitment matters, right? So don't get caught up in where I'm at because where you need to start ain't there, right? So what we need to do is talk about where you at. Understand objectively, pragmatically, in a real way where you actually are. Don't lie to yourself. Don't try to pretend you're somewhere where you're not. I'm 350 pounds. And when Josh started running, he was 380 and he was able to get out there and do a 16-minute mile. That's what I ought to be able to do. No, do what you can do. You might be able to be faster than me. You might be able to be slower than me. Who knows? But whatever it is, own it, embrace it, and sign up for the lumps and the bumps and the bloody nipples and twisted ankles and all the ugly parts that are going to try to make you quit along the way. Having some brothers around you helps. So besides running and me having a new relationship with my internal self because of the difficulty running has brought into my life.
That's right.
Right? I can use that capacity to do difficult things that I learned through running in other areas of my life, when it comes to food decisions, when it comes to how I look at, myself, how I think about my potential, all of these different things. It's eerie. It's hard to think positively about yourself. It's scary. It's a scary place to go to expect awesomeness from yourself. And so for me, the big thing that was different, there were a few, but I think the biggest one is everything else. The first domino to fall was me accidentally going outside to run from this telephone pole to that telephone pole, and then walk to the next one, and then run to the next one, and then walk to the next one, and then come back. I did that one day. That was about a 0.5 mile run, and I was destroyed. I was drenched, right? But it felt good, like after a hard day's work.
Yeah,
it felt cleansing.
It was an accomplishment,
right? And luckily, it resonated, and the difficulty itself drew me in, right? Because it's hard, but I'm tough, boy. Bring it, make it hurt more. It was like a macho thing. Yeah, it hurts. What, you scared to hurt?
Love it. I love it. It's funny. It's a mindset, and it's a want to. Do you want to? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. And I remember years and years ago, I used to coach travel softball and girls softball a long time ago. And I used to ask the kids. I'd gather them around and ask them, who here wants to be a good hitter? Of course, they all raise their hands.
Of course.
I said, who here is a good hitter? Nobody raised their hands. I think my daughter may have, because I've asked her that question before. I said, well, then you don't want to be a good hitter. Because if you want to be a good hitter, you'll be a good hitter. If you want to be a millionaire, you'll be a millionaire.
Yeah.
If you want to run an ultra marathon, you'll run an ultra marathon.
I had a lady one time in a race at a start corral, and she comes up to me, and she'd been following me on social media. And she asked me, because I was all sweaty and I was in the start corral.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, did you run already? And I was like, yeah, I ran already. I got 10 on my training plan this morning, and I'm gonna run. And she's like, oh, you running a 5K? I was like, no, I'm running a 10K. And she's like, oh goodness, so you ran 4? And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make it a 10-mile run this morning. She's like, oh, I'm so jealous. I was like, no, you're not. You ain't jealous enough. You ain't jealous enough. Because what have you done? Just being jealous ain't gonna do shit.
Nope.
I was jealous too for a long time. There's a dude in Thibodaux named Josh. And when I was big and fat, I'd see him running around Thibodaux with his shirt off, abs out, dude, shredded. Looks like Tarzan. Hair flowing, running a 6-minute pace around Thibodaux. And I was jealous.
What'd that do for you? What'd that do for you?
Did nothing. It did nothing for me. Now, he wound up contacting me over the years and then we've done some training together, and then, our personalities don't really match, come to find out, but whatever. It is what it is. But my jealousy didn't do anything. Jealousy never brought me anywhere. My grind did. My grind brought me to a place where he contacted me and wanted to know where I was training and if he could come run with me.
There you go.
Right? So I don't know. I'll tell you my favorite quote ever, because I've read a lot of business stuff. That was my degree. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. And so I've always been fascinated with creating your own revenue stream out of the ether, right?
Yeah.
Not getting an application and going get a 9-to-5 somewhere, but create revenue from the ether. Look around from a market, and figure out how to draw from it, right? And that was my bam. I grew up doing that, and I read a lot of business books. So business people inspire me. You know, there's a lot of overlapping between the stories that I've read and say T. Boone Pickens or Warren Buffett's stories, and the overlap is tremendous of those stories and say my story and my buddy Tim Kaufman, or the steps of success are the same.
The content's different, but the steps are the same.
Right. So I find reading about those guys very useful, and they have amazing quotes, right? And one of my favorite quotes of all times is from Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right.
The simplicity of that.
That is beautiful. And that quote rules my life.
That's beautiful. My favorite quote, and I don't know, somebody may have said it once before, I don't know, but I just thought about it one day when I was running. I was riding. I used to ride every morning. I haven't ridden in a while, and I need to get back to it again. But I was riding, and I used to make little YouTube, not YouTube, but Instagram stories. And this thought came into my head, and it said, and I said it too. And it's, if you're going to be a statistic, be a good one, because you're going to be a statistic.
Yeah.
Just be a good one. Everybody is going to be one, and everybody's going to talk about you. And that's the thing. And I think people, they resonate with like what you just said. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's 100% accurate. And it's so simple.
Yep. I thought I couldn't for 32 years, bro.
And you didn't.
And I did.
Until
now I think I can, and I'm doing it every day. I'm signed up for GDR in April. I'm signed up for Leadville 100 in August next year. I'm running the Marine Corps Marathon inaugural 50K in October with my homies. My life gives me chill bumps, bro, every day. And I don't miss hog head cheese or boudin crackers one bit. Sorry, not sorry. You know?
Yeah. You're living it, man. And you're living. Just like people say they want to live.
And I gotta say, and he ain't gonna mind me bragging on him. Even my boy from Galliano is plant-based now. I got dudes, I got my people on the bayou, a bunch of and it's not because of me, it's because of the information. It's the facts. It's the overwhelming amount of stories.
It's undeniable. You can't deny.
Then it's seeing your own biometrics where you go to your cardiologist and he's disappointed, and then you change to a plant-based diet and you go to your cardiologist and he's like, I don't know what the hell you're doing, but keep doing it, baby.
Love it. I love it, man. I love it. And you're touching people out that normally wouldn't be touched, man. And that's the thing, bro. I love it. The South Louisiana, the culture, the food, the people, they're all
deer hunters and ex-football players, vegans look right past those guys.
Exactly. And I was one, bro. I was a hunter. I used to clean the deer. They
Dude,
said
I can skin a deer like you ain't talking about. Louisiana guys do it different.
We do.
Like we do it different. I tell you, I learned skinning deer from my Texas buddies. And they skin deer I don't. Maybe we shouldn't talk about it on a vegan podcast, but they skin deer different. They skin deer from the head down, whereas all my friends here skin deer the opposite. And they would only do that if it was a buck and you wanted to save the cape. We would do that,
right?
But usually we skin them from the head down. And my God, we could just pour through them, man. I always tell people, I always make comments on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's always talking about his hunting and all this stuff, but he's cheating because he's got scopes and high powered compound bows and no scent and camouflage and GPS trackers and all of this stuff, right? And so I'm always making little comments like, I guarantee you this vegan right here, type in this comment, could skin a deer faster than you any day. I'd probably lose half of my vegan friends and followers but I guarantee you I could pour through a deer like you ain't talking about, man. I've done it. I can do it with my eyes closed.
Tell him next time you text him and he's bragging about his bow hunts or whatever, just tell him to look up Fred Bear.
Yeah.
tell him to check out Fred Bear. That's a hunter. That dude.
Yeah.
That dude he knew what to do. He knew how to track. He knew how to hunt. And
well, that's the other thing. Like as much
not,
as I don't really get along, really, it's just a personal, like just a personality thing. With the other Josh that I was talking about earlier a little while ago, as much as I don't really get along with him, I got to give him props on how he hunts because he's like that. Like he goes into the woods and. You know, he's not a four-wheeler and a high-powered rifle with a Swarovski $1,000 scope and a box blind and all. Man, he's like Rambo with fucking mud on his face and a knife, bro.
Yeah.
He's getting after that ass in the woods, like, and you can't hate on a guy for that. You know, I mean, you can if you want, but I'm just saying he's using his body in a way to hunt that most hunters are not. When you're riding around and, you know, going on an African safari and you're riding on the top of a blazer. You know, and you got a bench rest and you shoot. That's not hunting. You know,
well, you know,
killing.
You know, you say you mentioned that you're worried about maybe people getting their feelings hurt, I guess. But you know, here's the thing: the way I look at it is we were all starting on a journey somewhere, and we all perpetuated this notion of animal cruelty, death. You know, whatever you want to call it. We all played a part in it, whether we were spending our dollars buying it or we were taking part in actually doing it. And so. Whether you went out there and did it yourself or paid somebody else to do it for you, it's kind of, you know, 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. So I'm not too concerned about that. And we are where we are now, man. And now we can share the message. And I honestly, I hunted and fished and killed and I've said it a million times.
I still struggle with fishing because I love it.
It hurt.
I don't fish anymore, but I have a boat. I have thousands of dollars worth of tackle.
It's the experience. You know? It's the experience.
I miss it, man. If there's one thing I miss, it almost makes me want to cry, is being out on the Gulf on a piss calm morning.
Yeah.
You know, and you get out to my favorite rig and we put a cockahole on the bottom or a croaker on the bottom, whatever we got in the live well. And you get that first boom. Oh shit, they here.
Yeah.
And you going. And it's just you and your homies and you throw, and it's like there's fish everywhere.
It's adrenaline and it's memories.
To feel like I'm a land animal way out here in the middle of this Gulf of Mexico. And I'm able to pull fish out of the water. It's wild. I miss it. I do. But I don't eat fish. So it feels like a terrible, terrible thing to do to another animal just for me to have some fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So I don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it hurt my heart thinking about the things that I used to do, you know, because I knew that there was really no need for it, and I enjoyed it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did, but
yep. And that's what me and my brother we would talk. So we used to go, hunt rabbits at night all the time. We call that bull eyeing. It's totally like, you know, not really supposed to do that, but we grew up doing that shit.
Sure. Yeah,
a lot of coon-asses did. But I'll never forget. You know, when you go and you kill a rabbit, like if you wound a rabbit. And you walk up to it, it might be screaming, and it screams. It screams. It sounds like a kid.
Yeah.
Just, and you're not going to shoot a rabbit at point blank range, so you kill it with your hands or your foot, or you pick it up and you swing it and hit his head on a tree or whatever. But it's audible. That it's the end of its life. Its pain, its suffering is very audible, right? And me and my brother, we were destroying the speckled trout one morning, and I think I had already gone vegan by then because I have I've gone on 2 fishing trips since I've been vegan, which completely disqualifies me as vegan by vegans, but that's not the point. What I'm talking about is just trying to be specific here. So, but anyway, we fishing, we tearing up the speckled trout, and I'm like, Dustin, you ever thought about what if these speckled trout could vocalize like those rabbits do when we go rabbit hunting?
Ooh.
And he just stopped and he was like, ooh, ooh. Do you imagine this whole boat full of animals going, let me go, pull you in the back of the water? You know?
Wow.
It's so crazy. And he was like, damn, I never thought about that. And I was like, me neither. And what we used to do when we did go fishing, I was like, let's try to kill these fish as fast as we can. And so we made sure instead of just having an ice chest of ice, we put ice chest of ice and put water in it so it'd be a slush. So when we would throw the fish in there, they would submerge themselves and then die faster.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that was the last fishing trip we went on. But yeah, that's crazy to think about. Like, and that's how I think of when I think about fishing now. It's like, oh, remember when I said that to Dustin that time? Just because they can't vocalize doesn't mean it's not an unbelievable thing to put this other animal through for no really good reason. I mean, I know they taste delicious, but I'm not partaking in that anymore.
That's right.
And I'm not going to go and do it so you can kill yourself with fried fish. I'm not going to just go and collect fish to give it to someone else. Sorry. May do it for my dogs, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway.
That's crazy. That's true, though. You don't think about it till you start thinking about looking at it through their eyes.
It's wild.
It is.
So that vegan, those sort of vegan ethos, they percolate into even a deeply, deeply rooted Cajun person, even to someone who really deeply identifies with the culture and loves it and has nostalgia for all of its parts and pieces. At the root of being Cajun is love, man.
It is. It is. It is. Friends, family, culture, food. It's all.
So I can extend that love to speckled trout. I've used them a long time in my life to get some fun, and I can leave them alone for the rest.
That's right. That's right. What was your first run that you ran plant-based?
My first one that I ran plant-based would have been the Jazz Half Marathon.
Ooh. How'd it go?
That went well.
How long had you been plant-based before you started?
Just a few months.
Oh, just
for a few months. And that's actually what precipitated the Rich Roll interview. I did my very first half marathon. It took me 2:15. I did the Jazz Half in 2013.
Yeah.
And it took me 2 hours and 15 minutes. I was like, dang, I think I can get under 2 hours, because I felt like I left a lot on the table in the first 3 or 4 miles, because I didn't really know how to pace myself. So me and my wife and her friend were running, and after I got warmed up after about mile 6 or so, I started running away from them, and I kind of left them and went run my own race and finished in 2:15. I was like, boy, if I could have those early miles back, I might be able to get in under 2. And so I immediately went run the Homa Heart and Souls half marathon. It's no longer a race. Like I think a week or two later, and finished in 1:58 and change.
Hell yeah!
And I was so ecstatic, and that's where that running photo on the very first Rich Roll interview, that's where that running photo was from. That was my second race that I can remember, plant-based. There might have been some local little 5Ks along the way that I'm not remembering, but yeah. But those were big. Those 2 half marathons were big. And then that's when I posted that picture, and then it all drew, and then Rich saw my pic and then redid it, and then next thing you know, I'm on this podcast. But it was my second half marathon is where that picture came from. And that was really my second race as a plant-based runner.
And did you notice the recovery time? Everything was different? Was it different?
Yeah, I was recovering much faster, but I was also going, but I don't know if it's plant-based, because yes, I'm recovering faster, but I'm also so much lighter than when I was running before. So I was still trying to be objective about it.
Sure.
I was like, yes, I am recovering faster, but I'm also lighter and getting stronger. But yeah, I definitely recovered faster. There's no doubt. No doubt.
What's your best race?
Best race ever in my life, I would have to say, is the Bear Bait 50 miler in January of 2016. It was a 50-mile race, and my Bam was there. My brother was there. Everybody was there watching. It was a 4-mile loop, so they got to see me a whole bunch of times, and I wound up getting in first place in mile 40. And they were able to cheer me on to keep the guy from catching me for the rest of the race. And he wanted to bad. He just couldn't. And it was really cool. So I wound up finishing first overall. That guy that I passed, he finished second overall. He was also a vegan runner. Now he's keto for whatever reason. He's whole nother subject. And then third place, rounding out third place, was my buddy Jean Aponte, who I run with all the time.
Awesome.
Who was flabbergasted. He totally should have beat me that day. He's much stronger in those big distances than me, but I was tapered into that race, and he was just using it as a trainer. And I was just on fire, man. My Bam Bam was there, and I just kept wanting to get back to him and not keep him waiting too long, because I knew that this was going to be a long time for him to be outside, you know?
That was your day, bro. That was your day, bro.
It was my day, man, and I was first overall. I cried. I was like, I can't believe I won. And Rich Roll called me on my way home. I'm in the back seat, and Rich Roll called. And literally, I was like, oh, Rich Roll is calling me. And I answer the phone, and he's like, what the fuck? You win ultras now? You just win them?
Damn, bro, just like that.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I win them.
It's awesome.
That was fun,
That was your day, man. You weren't going to be denied that day.
That was beautiful. That was my fun. And you know, my 100-miler was fun, but my God, that was my best. I think my best race memory, I would have to say.
Before we wrap this rascal up, your stories about Bam Bam, I love them.
Thank you.
Talk to us a minute about Bam Bam. What's he mean to you?
Bam Bam is like, oh my gosh, man. I wish everybody, like, my Bam Bam is not just my Bam Bam, you know? He was Bam Bam to everybody. And the cool thing is, I started that nickname. I was 2 years old. And my mama had a keychain, and it had a picture of my mama and my Bam Bam on there.
Yeah.
And so they point we were at a friend's house who owns a lumber yard here in Thibodaux. And they asked Mr. Frost, hey, Mr. Frost asked me, pointing at my grandfather on the keychain, who's that guy? And I said, that's Bam Bam. And I don't know where the name came from, but it stuck, you know. He used to always sit at the table and be fake mad and go, John Brown. You know, I think maybe that had something to do with it as a kid, because he would shake all the dishes and he would freak everybody out. And it was just to get everyone's attention, you know, big stomping roar. That was my Bam Bam. I was my Bam Bam. So I came up with the nickname accidentally as a 2-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
And as we got older, everybody in the trailer park, that he built a trailer park, and so we grew up there and we lived there, but everyone called him Bam Bam, and he had everyone's attention. He would give you the shirt off his back, and he'd also curse you lower than a dog. Ooh. You know, if you came at him wrong, right? And he might punch you in the mouth. He was not above getting physical. I've seen him slap grown men right in the face. You know, that was my Bam Bam. And he always said, I'm 6'3.5" and 290 pounds. I'll cover the ground I'll stand on. And he was not joking. He was a rough and tumble bear that would tear your face off of your skull. And he was also a man that would cry when he would talk about how much he loved his wife and his family.
He's passionate.
Passionate man. He taught me a lot. He taught me how to work, you know. Yeah. That's one thing, like in this ultra marathon and stuff, that I think has really helped me out, is I know what it's like. Like, I'm out there running. Yeah, it sucks, but it ain't like working a 12-hour day in the middle of West 82nd Street in the middle of cutoff when I'm neck deep in a muddy trench, sticking home 8-inch PVC water line, like, and carrying drill stem and pumps and being muddy and caked with mud and sweat all freaking day long, and having a timeline, a deadline, and right. So I grew up doing that. Since I was 11 years old, I was on the job site with my Bam Bam and working and learning how to solve problems and knowing, you know, oh, there's no roadblock that's acceptable, no matter what. If we can't find it to buy, we better figure out how to build it, right? When you're a contractor, You get it done no matter what.
That's right.
And I just learned that through osmosis from my Bam Bam. And you know, over the years, I've learned to use that in my running and in my health journey. That creative, you know, innovation that my Bam Bam taught me. Like, we're gonna get it done. We're gonna get it done. Ain't no hill for a stepper.
That's right.
Just keep taking the next step. And that's how we would get through jobs. That's how we'd eat up big jobs. And that's how my Bam Bam made his living. And on the weekends, we usually took Fridays off and would go fishing all weekend. We would travel out to Timberlake Island, and he had a camp on an old abandoned Texaco platform that he had built from scraps that he had just hauled out there, and he built it and got a cistern and built a generator shed, and he had it set, you know? I did a lot of growing up out there. I did a lot of growing up on that boat, learning lessons about life and honesty and what a man's word means, and how to shake a man's hand and look him in the eye and keep your word no matter what to your brothers. Like, all of that stuff. I witnessed all of that. And he taught me everything I know about life, you know? And so I was so sad, like, to watch him deteriorate as his vascular dementia progressed over the past few years. Once you guys on social media started to know my Bam Bam, he was a different man by then, you know?
Sure.
And I was the one that was the leader by then, you know?
Right.
He's asking me if it's okay if he could have a banana, you know? As a tough swing for an admiring little grandkid to make. It's a tough swing to go through.
It is, bro.
It is. And so we lost him in 2017 in August.
Yeah.
He finally went on to go visit with my mama. And but he's still alive, you know, because he's right here. He's the reason I'm okay with telling stories. Why he's okay. He's the reason that I'm comfortable in public settings and doing public speaking. Anytime I can make someone laugh, that's my Bam Bam.
Right.
When I make someone say, "That's a good old boy," whatever I did to make somebody say that, that's my Bam Bam. He taught me that, you know? And so I know he's not going. He's still here. He's still here every day. Right? And my mama, my friend Alita Besson, she said that her daughters, we were up in Buffalo this weekend, and she said that her daughters were just enamored by my mom's ability to tell a story. And immediately it just made me smile, because it's like, that's my Bam Bam. He didn't go anywhere. He's been split up into a whole bunch.
That's why he's still around.
Contact points, right? And I'm carrying a piece. My mom's carrying a piece. My brother's carrying a piece. My little sister's carrying a piece. All of us.
That's why he's still around.
Yeah.
He left an imprint.
And so Bam Bam is a lot of this fire I have inside of me that keeps me going and pushing. That's my Bam Bam. He's still here. You looking at him, baby.
I love it. I love it, man. I love your stories about Bam Bam. I do. You're so passionate about it, and you know, it means the world, and that's why I wanted you to talk about it.
I appreciate it, man.
I love hearing
it.
Love hearing
That's my buddy. We got a bunch of them.
I love that. He's a good old boy. I like that. That's a Louisiana thing right there.
It is.
So, man, if people want to find you, bro, where do they need to go to find you? I know. Well, before we get to that, I know you got a book out, bro.
I do. Sick to Fit. You can get it. And I wanted, like, a big part of me doing this was I wanted to be able to put it out there for free for people.
Sure.
And so my partner, Howard Jacobson, helped me do that. It was a lot of legwork in that process, a lot of the logistics, and being able to turn it into a file and get it to upload to Kindle ebooks. And because I really wanted to be able to just point to that book and say, hey, it's right now, that's everything that I've gathered to this point.
Yeah.
It's right there, you know?
Love it.
And you can have it. And if you don't have the money to buy it, you can get it for free on Kindle. And so, but yeah, you can find it's called Sick to Fit. We also have a Facebook page, same name.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It's starting to grow. There's a little over 1,000 or 1,500 people in there right now. It's exciting for me to open that up every day and look at what's going on in there. We got some people moderating and stuff in there for us, so it doesn't have to be something that's bothering me a lot. Like, oh goodness, I have people in there that I trust that are helping pay attention to stuff and all. So anyway, yeah.
And then on where can they find you social media wise? Where do they need to go?
Best place to find me is on Instagram. Instagram's my favorite. I'm on Instagram every day.
Your stories. Your stories are the best, man.
I love Instagram stories. I'm more willing to be vulnerable and like talk about real stuff because I know it's gonna disappear tomorrow. Yeah. So I love the dynamic of stories that what Snapchat kind of brought to the world. I think is really cool. I like that.
Yeah. A small glimpse, but just enough.
Just enough. And if I like it, I can make it a highlight.
There you go.
It's cool.
I love it, brother. I love it, man. You're a champ, man. You're out there rocking it, dude.
I appreciate you. You the same thing, bro. We all doing this together.
All right, man.
So I appreciate you doing your end and holding up your side over there.
I'm here. Well, brother, you go and enjoy the Saints game, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Hopefully they'll let Drew play tonight. I don't know. He might get.
Drew ain't. I hope they don't. I hope you don't even put on pads tonight. Don't need it. I'm going to see Teddy Bridgewater. I know what Taysom Hill's about, right? Yeah. He's got a spot. I know what we want Taysom Hill for. That's right. I want to see Teddy Bridgewater's capacity. Has it grown as a quarterback? That's my main focus tonight.
Think Jared Cook will play?
I think so. I'd like to see. That's the other thing. I'd like to see.
I need to see a red zone. I need to see Jared Cook in the red zone.
Because man, if we can feel confident in our second string like we did when we had Chase Daniels, like that's powerful, bro.
It's powerful. It is.
It allows Drew to be even more risky.
It does. It does.
So I like it. That's what I'm looking for. I want to see Ted. Come on now. Let's see what you got, player. I'm ready.
All right, my brother. Well, you be safe, man. You take it easy out there. And
right,
I will talk at you later, my friend.
All right,